Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Craven.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Jody Lynn, while the intro was playing, I was thinking about the episode you and I did last week about AI consciousness. And it occurred to me during our conversation, AI consciousness, any kind of consciousness, we're always usually talking in terms of what goes on in the head. Artificial intelligence, that's the way it's usually defined. We didn't really talk about the heart. I mean, we could have, because that was a key part of what we talked about, but we didn't actually go there.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time to tie that into our guest today, because he's all about the heart.
I love it.
And he was hinting to us before we got going that he's been into AI for a couple of years. So there's my natural segue going on right there. So we're going to find out more in a moment. His name is Ash Perot. He's from Sydney, Australia. Welcome. And first of all, thank you for joining us at this very early hour, Ash. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Walt. It's my pleasure. I am an early bird, but it's you're the first people I've talked to this morning, so my voice is still warming up.
Well, we'll try to help warm you up in a positive, happy way to get your day going in a good way.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm there with you.
Just wave your hand if something is not working right, and we'll adjust it.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
So first and foremost, give everybody who's listening a little quick potted autobiography about how it is that you ended up doing what you're doing now, and what it is that you're doing now. I kind of gave a hint, but I didn't really say.
So in 2016, I had a near-death experience where I was in a hospital and there was an operation and things didn't go so well. And we can go into the details if you like, but I got to this point where I left my body and I had no pulse. I wasn't breathing. There was an emergency team trying to keep me alive. And I experienced that as being these ripples going out and out and out. And so people say, did you see a light? No. I was just in blackness, like stillness, blackness, except for being these ripples. And the ripples were me. I was the ripples. The ripples were everything. There was no separation. And I was very surprised that I had conscious thought. I was, because I'd been aware that I was dying. I was aware that this team was trying to keep me alive. And I could hear them, what they were saying. He's not breathing. Keep your eyes open, Ash. The ECG monitors aren't sticking on him. I could hear all these things happening, and I heard them say his blood pressure is 52/36. And that's when I thought, oh, I'm in real trouble here. And then it just kept going down this pathway. And I'm thinking, I'm dying. And I could see where everybody was in the room, and I was very, very present, and I just couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. And I faded out and went into this stillness of ripples. And one of the things I thought was, I'm still me. I thought I might become like this enlightened Buddha or something, but I'm still me. And it was this real sense of the self. And so as I've contemplated since, it's like, okay, my conditioning stayed in my body, right? Like all these things that we pick up in our training. So for example, my accent, right? Like our accent is a conditioned thing.
Sure.
And so as I left my body, these conditionings dropped away, and I was left with this sense of the true essence of myself.
Wow.
And so that was very powerful to experience that just alone. And I was bargaining. I started bargaining because I didn't want to leave. And I was really saying, I want to stay for my partner. I want to stay for the kids. And I was still dying. And so how I knew I was dying was the ripples were just going out and out. And I had a knowing. And these things are just happening like, almost instantaneously. And then I got to this point where I felt this warmth, and I said, I want to stay for the work that I do and walk the planet from my heart. Totally different thing, right? Before I was staying for everybody else, which pattern of my life had been the martyr and putting everybody else first, putting me last, in a lot of suffering, a lot of disappointment, a lot of resentment. I had PTSD and depression and physical issues that were happening. And so that moment that I said, I want to stay for the work that I do and walk the planet from my heart, I came straight back into my body, opened my eyes, and they said, we've got a pulse, his eyes open, he's breathing. I had level 11 pain, just off the scale, because what had happened was I had an internal bleed and I'd lost so much blood that the blood was pressing on my organs. But there was part of me that was still able to be grateful that I was back.
Wow.
And so that's almost 9 years now, and it's been the inquiry, okay, what does it mean to live from my heart? And so that was initially for the first year, it took me 8 months to get back to full-time work. But so initially it was okay, health, but I had this piece in my brain. It's like, okay, what does it mean to live from the heart? I wasn't living from my heart. Oh, I thought I was, I was trying to make everybody else happy. And so, and then of course too, I experienced consciousness. What does that mean what is consciousness? So these questions, which happens to all of us, we have like a vision of where we want to go or be in our lives. We have questions how to get there, and the questions drive the behavior. So I started, changing my behavior due to these questions. So I was like, okay, I have a contract now to live from the heart. What does that mean? So I went through all these personal work and explorations, and 3 weeks after I got out of hospital, the relationship I was in split up because it just had to. We had been trying really hard and it wasn't working. So, I started with zero health. I started with almost zero possessions other than my music gear, which I'm a musician as well. But my daughter had her desk and her toys and her belongings, and I didn't even have a bed, and we started life again. So extraordinary process. So that the inquiry too has been, well, what's the work? So initially it was, okay, what does it mean to live from the heart? And as I became more and more connected to my heart and honoring myself and realizing that when I'm taking care of myself and happy and my health is superb and things like that, purpose comes naturally. Right? It's not like something that a lot of people go, well, my purpose, find my purpose. And I had to find myself and find my heart and become honoring of that. And then the purpose comes and it changes. At the moment, it's helping heart-led professionals to share their work with the world and go through visibility, internal blocks that they may have, but also help other people with their internal world so that they can do the things they want to do in their life. That may change. It may change. It's always evolving. So quite a long answer to your question.
That's all right. That's the way it often goes around here. I have a follow-up question, though, because when you were describing and telling the story of what your experience was like while you were in your NDE, your near-death experience, you very specifically said that you wanted to come back to live in the heart, which I found to be an extraordinary statement, given that, like you said, so much was happening so quickly, and yet you came to that conclusion in the midst of that state. Do you have any idea how you did that?
Before I said it, I felt a warmth, and then it just came from somewhere else. Right? I talked about shedding the conditioning, right? Like the conditioning of being there for everybody else. And the person I didn't want to leave was my daughter. I didn't want her to be that 9-year-old whose dad had died. Yeah, it was just like, no, I don't want that for her. But that, I think that dropped away too. And that sense of self, and there was a connection to my true nature that came through. And so I often say it's like the soul's fingerprint. We all have this unique fingerprint that is us. I got to experience that as me and realized that was unique.
So when you said that you were wanting to live in a heart-centered existence, what you were really trying to express was you wanted to live in that true personhood that you had discovered once everything had been stripped away, and you liked it. You liked what you saw there, and you said, I want to live this way.
Well, and I realized it was unique, and I realized that, this is me. This oh, okay, I just have to be that. And of course,
Mhm.
love it when somebody says, I just have to be that, right?
It does
And
have
then,
to, yeah, of course, yeah.
yeah, it's okay. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to be this way. So, yeah, many, 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 many challenges and amazing support as I've gone through and been blessed to learn from many, many extraordinary people.
Mm.
Uh,
I
yeah.
understand that. And you mentioned that you're a musician. I'm also a musician, private musician. I haven't played out in 4 decades, but
Uh,
I'm an at-home musician, a closet musician, if you will.
what do you play?
But
What?
I play keyboard. Um,
Beautiful.
but I have found that it serves me in so many different ways to play, not the least of which I feel like I tie more directly into that inner being that you're referring to. I find it's not only very calming, it's a fun process because I don't, I mean, I play some covers, but for the most part, I'm writing my own stuff or perhaps arranging somebody else's stuff, rearranging it. And the creative process that is associated with that for me feels like I'm tapping into the essence of myself. So when you mentioned that you were a musician, the thought that went through my mind is, I wonder if he's doing the same thing now. He went through this whole heart-centered thing. I wonder if he's using his music the same way that I am.
Well, I can certainly relate. In 2006, I had a stillborn daughter, and as which that led me down the path towards the PTSD and depression. But my sanctuary was just playing guitar, just sitting in the hospital in the visitors room, no one else there, and I'd just sit there and play guitar, and that was the only relief for my grief.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming out of that, so, well, I thought I was going to be a dad. I'm guess that's not happening. And so I thought, well, I was going to give up being a musician to be a dad. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll go be a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really opened up music for me and led me down this beautiful path of music and amazing people and travel and festivals and sharing the gift of music and connection on the road. And
Not to mention actually becoming a dad as well.
yeah, I know. Yeah, 11 months later, I became a dad, and
Yeah.
just the greatest gift for me. The greatest gift.
Yeah. So, is music still a way that you tap into that heart center?
Yes, so I still play every day. There's always some song that I'm working on floating around, and I find that if I sit and play, my I come from a different place for the day, and also
Mm.
the song is playing in the background.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, yeah, it's kind of like so. I have one that I've been working on where I sit at the back door of looking out over my garden, and the first line is, "I give thanks to my garden for watching me grow."
I
And
love
so
that.
and so I have this just going around my head all day,
Yeah.
and then the chorus is something along the lines of, "These choices that I am making feel good," and so that as a mantra as I going
Mhm.
through the day,
Sure. Well,
and
yeah.
yeah,
That's almost
so,
better than just doing regular affirmations because that's affirmation to music.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So to sort of maintain that habit, I make sure that I do gigs, that I do shows, because
Mm.
what happens is that will slide for me.
Mhm.
Whereas if I know that I've got a show coming up that weekend, I'm always playing every day,
Mm. Mhm.
not all day. Like my other work takes up most of my time, but it's it's yeah, it's always there. It keeps it in my life and
Mm.
keeps me grounded and more connected to myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Jody Lynn, I never asked you, do you play a musical instrument?
no, I
No,
used
you
to
don't.
sing when
Okay.
I was a kid,
You were a
but
singer. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Mm, yeah.
closet singer. I don't sing in front of people anymore.
uh,
The
well,
last time I sang was to my husband on our wedding day.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
lovely.
that's it.
what song did you sing?
My Best Friend by Tim McGraw.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't decide which song we wanted for our wedding. And then he was like, all right, that one's too fast. And, we should pick this one. And so we picked a different one that we really both loved. And then that sparked the idea of like, I should sing the other one to him because the lyrics really speak to my soul of him being my best friend and being there for me in a way that I've never had. And so I was like, okay. And I recruited a friend and I was like, okay, so I can sing, or I used to be able to sing. And how about I sing for you and you tell me if I'm crap? And if I am, I'm not going to do this. Be honest with me. And if I'm okay and you can work with me over the next couple months before the wedding, we'll surprise him and we'll play. And so we did after our first dance, and like the dance with my dad, and you know, he danced with his sister because his mom's gone. I went to the like back and prepped, and then he got on the dance floor and I sang to him.
Fantastic.
It was a total surprise. But he can play like almost anything, like, well, pretty much anything by ear, which it's fabulous. Yeah, he can hear a song and pick it up and just like pick up a guitar or a keyboard, like pretty much any instrument really. I've seen him do it with. Cool. He just picks it up and he just starts playing with the chords, and then all of a sudden 5 minutes later he can play the entire song.
Yeah, that's the connection that we were talking about. Yeah, when you're connected to the music that way and it's connected to who you are as a person, it becomes easy to do that. It sounds perhaps strange to somebody who's not a musician. Ash, I know you've done it. I know I've done it. I mean, just about every semi-serious musician I've ever met does it to one degree or another, because that's just part of what it is to be a musician.
Yeah, it's a language.
Totally.
And so you just learn the language and learn the patterns of the language, and then it's much easier to work out what's happening in a song.
Interesting choice of the word too, language. I would apply that, because it's a language. It's almost like you're inventing a language as you're speaking it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And that's you know, I haven't had many. My main instrument is guitar, and I play slide guitar, and lots of those sort of, you know, things, that stringed things.
Right. I played guitar,
but I haven't had many teachers. It's been me working it out for myself, which that's generally what I do. Is I just sit down and go, okay, where are we going today? All right, let's have a play and see what happens. And because of that, improvisation has become a strength for me. And I speak to classical people that have learned off sheet music. It can be very difficult for them to improvise. I can't even read music at all. You know, I can look and go, oh, there's an A chord or a D chord, but I can't read music, and so it's been all by ear.
Wow.
I understand, and I appreciate that. I can read music, but I also know basic, you know, chord structure and chord litigation. Yeah, like the other word, the word that means you write it down. But the thing I was going to point to is that I used to play guitar many years ago. My sequence was I learned piano, I learned guitar, I stopped for about 40 years, and I went back to keyboard. And the guitar experience actually served me really well when I went back to keyboard. I picked it up a whole lot easier and a whole lot deeper than when I was first playing piano all those years ago, because of the chord structure of guitar. It taught me a whole lot about how the keyboard works. And, you know, that anybody who has ever played more than one instrument, I think, has experienced something along that line. But it's amazing how, when you're trying to express that language that we were referring to a moment ago, first trying to create the language and then trying to figure out how to express it musically, the more different places you can draw from, all of them tend to feed in. And the same thing I think is true with the heart and with consciousness, because like last week we were talking about artificial intelligence, a certain area of the whole consciousness topic. Now we're talking about the heart side of it, and the two connect in so nicely in so many different ways that they feed each other when you draw from both of them. That's what my experience has been. And I'm curious to know what your experience has been along those same lines. But more than that, you've turned this into a practice. You're helping people. You're a coach. You're a mentor. You have a number of different roles that you play. And so I'm wondering, this is like my long-winded way of getting around to, how do you tie all this together?
I don't. It just gets tied together. It's just being open and listening. So, you know, I had my near-death experience because I didn't listen. I was in a relationship where at the start it was beautiful, it was loving, it was kind. And then over 5 years, it became very confrontational, and as much as we cared about each other, it just didn't work. My inner guide was saying, leave, what are you doing? And another example, not listening, which was the key one. So the surgery I had was spinal fusion, because I'd popped 2 discs in my back and they degenerated. That came from a surfing accident where, before I went into the water, I heard this voice in my head, which was like God's voice, say to me, if you go surfing today, you will hurt your back.
Wow.
And and I didn't like my job, right? Because I just didn't like my job, and I didn't want to go back to work. So I said, bring it on.
Wow.
So in my case, I said to the universe, bring it on. The universe went, okay, you're not waking up. Here comes the back injury.
We gave you your chance.
Yeah. And so I started paddling out, dove through the first wave, and then went to duck dive through the second wave. 2 discs popped. Excruciating pain. Could hardly paddle in, could hardly use my arms. When I got to the edge of the water, I was stuck. I was just standing there holding my board. I couldn't even take a step.
Wow.
And so now I listen. Right. However, that happened. I still didn't listen. I didn't leave the, and it was lots of reasons. I was staying. I wanted to work out for the family. Didn't want to put my daughter through another family separating, and I didn't listen. And so now I listen, and it's more like I listen. We could describe it as the heart, but it's also listening to guidance that comes from somewhere else. Right? So that experience of, I want to stay for the work that I do and walk the planet from my heart, hearing that came from somewhere else. Right? And so if I listen to that, life has become extraordinary. I've been married for 5 years. It's phenomenal health, amazing experiences, adventures, phenomenal people that I get to work with and help. And I'm just so happy, so happy. So that's what I do. I just listen. And sometimes I'm not a good listener. A friend of mine just had a fall recently. She was rock climbing, and she fell, and luckily she landed on some trees as she was falling. And I messaged her. I said, well, as we know, the more we listen to guidance, the softer the fall. And so sometimes, there's things that don't go right because I haven't been tuned in and truly listening. And so I find that's one of the ways, the universe. Whereas, I was such a bad listener, the universe said, okay, well, you're going to have to die to actually listen, and you may not wake up and have the opportunity. So for me, that was my last chance to wake up.
Wow. Did you know that, like, when you had the near-death experience and you closed your eyes and you saw all the like blackness, did you know, like, oh, this is my wake-up call? Were you conscious of that thought?
No, I just knew that I was dying, and I had all these things occurring very quickly, and it was so when you're very aware of what's happening, and you can just, okay, I know that was happening, that's what it was like. And there was just little insights going boom, boom. Like, for example, I feel like myself. Oh, okay. And so there wasn't a moment until I came back. And I just put a video on my TikTok yesterday about the moment I realized I had changed from my near-death experience. And I was in the ICU, and I was very ill, and I couldn't move my legs. The nurses would have to move my feet for me. Wow. And I remember saying to the nurse, I'm so grateful to know this level of suffering. There are people that go through something like this every day, and I've never known it. And at that point, I thought, well, where did that come from? And it was like this experiential gratitude and compassion for others and compassion for myself. And it totally changed the experience of being in such deep physical suffering.
Do you remember what the nurse's response was?
I don't. Yeah.
We got to lower his pain medication.
Yeah. Yes. But that was a fun journey in itself. I discovered morphine and we do not go well
Don't
together.
mix. No, okay.
It was a quite a hallucinogenic ride, shall we say? If I blinked my eyes, I went on a 10-minute hallucinogenic experience, and that was just in the blink. It was excruciatingly painful, just being on morphine. So yeah, and it was also most medications and we don't work together. It doesn't go well. So yeah, so I got off anything I could as fast as I could.
Wow. And while you were in the experience, when you saw the ripples, did you have like an understanding, or what was the understanding of what that ripple meant, or like what the meaning of it was?
I didn't have an understanding. I had the surprise. Oh, I'm ripples. I am the ripples, and the ripples are me. The ripples are everything.
Yeah.
And so since then, it's been contemplating. So there's I love the work of Richard Rudd, and he talks about three ways of being, and there's focused attention, meditation, and contemplation. So contemplation is when we just go, okay, I'm going to consider this and just put it out there. And like there's that story of was it Benjamin Franklin who would sit by the stream and fish every day, and he would fish for a couple of hours every day, but he didn't even have a hook on the end of the line. So that was his contemplation. Yeah. So with the ripples, that's been a contemplation. So now what I have heard, we shall say, it's like, okay, we're all ripples. What we do in the world is ripples. What you do with your podcast is ripples. Yeah, these conversations you have, these actions you take in life, these gardens you plant, these people you speak to, you're creating ripples. And so that's my work, is to be a ripple. And my work is to help other people be their ripple. And so in that context, gosh, life is simple.
I'm glad you brought that out, because that was something that occurred to me when you first told us about the experience and how it was just black with ripples. And the first thought that came to my mind was, well, yeah, we ripple on everything. Anything we give our attention to creates ripples. But you actually had a visceral experience of effectively seeing the ripples.
Yeah, well, just that I was ripples, and so we all are ripples. That for me, it's like, okay, that's our energy. That's what our energy form is, ripples. Okay, so how do I be that in life? Well, I drop the conditioning, and then I am that, because I already am that, and the only thing between me being the ripple and realizing that I am the ripple is the mind. So the mind is going to lie to me and tell me I'm not in my heart. The lie is going to tell me all these things, trying to protect me. But I already am the ripples. I already am in my heart. It's just that the mind, I'm believing the mind.
So that raises the obvious question, and this is something we've talked about many times here on the show, but okay, you want to live in that inner being, you want to live in the ripples, you want to let go of all the external stuff. How do you do it?
Well, see, my particular part was I had to let go of the people pleasing. Yeah, because that's where I had been conditioned, was to people please, to the point where I would suffer deeply and still people please. And so that the conditioning is still there. Like I said, right, we still have an accent. I still have conditioning. It's not, my accent isn't going to change.
No, none of us. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, how do I work with that? So I don't work on my business. I work with my business. I don't work on my health. I work with my health. I don't work on my conditioning. I work with it. And then having self-compassion, and there'll be things in my conditioning. So one of my frustration points is slow drivers. I live in a city of 8 million people, right? And my life is set up so I don't have to be in peak hour traffic. But when I happen to be encountered, I still have the conditioning, which I remember from my father, right? he would say things like, "Where did this person get their license, in a cereal packet?" Right? He would, and so I still have, there's conditioning there. Say, "Oh, okay, I just got frustrated at that car or that person that I think is in the car. Can I have self-compassion and love for myself in that moment?" And then that helps to dissolve the conditioning. It's like, okay. So instead of the frustration with myself for having the conditioning, making it the conditioning stick, self-compassion, self-love, which is a practice, not a perfection. Yeah. And then just the practice of that, dissolve, and then come into the heart, true self again.
And that's the key word. It's a practice. And practice means you practice it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes practice goes well. Sometimes practice doesn't go well.
As any musician knows.
Yeah. Sometimes it's really hard to have self-compassion.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Can I have self-compassion for myself when I can't have self-compassion? Like, let's go quantum levels out, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Having compassion about compassion.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're really in your head, right, Jody Lynn?
Yeah. There's contemplation right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious, Jody Lynn, what's the contemplation?
I think I'm in a lot of times in my life, I'm in contemplation. I'm always thinking about what am I thinking and why am I thinking about it? So the contemplation is just simply of how can you have compassion when you're not being compassionate, or like when you're in a moment where you're not compassionate. That's a beautiful contemplation to have in that moment, or in any moment, just recognizing that, oh, okay, I can see it. I'm not having compassion for myself. So where do I find it? Or what does that look like? Or what could it feel like? That's the contemplation that I would go into.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. For myself, it's more along the line of, oh, I'm doing it again. Just stop it.
Yeah. And how does that go? Does that work?
Well, if I stop there, it doesn't work at all. I actually have to take it to the next step, which is to find the actual compassion. But first I have to get through that one step. Like, just stop. Just stop that.
Just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which can work.
Yeah.
Like, Well, I need to break up the train because otherwise that train just keeps going. It has a lot of momentum behind it. So I have to stop that momentum. That's what I'm really trying to do with it. And once I've stopped it, which can take a few stops, like stop. No, I said stop. Stop right there. Stop. I have to go through that a few times. And then once I've done that, then I can take a breath, and then I can just kind of calm, say, okay, not a big deal. Everything's fine. Here's the good stuff that's going on right now. Just counting the blessing kind of a thing. And usually that's enough to distract me away permanently from whatever it was I was trying to stop. But not always. Sometimes I have to go through it a few times.
For me, I find I'm a better person, coach, I don't know, friend to others outside of myself than I am.
Oh, myself. Yeah, of course.
Which I think is true for all of us.
Yeah.
And I find that the quickest way for me to move forward is to think about that. Like, if this was my best friend saying the same thing, same scenario, whatever it was, how would I help her move through that or see a different perspective? And when I can see it from that place of being a friend, I'm like, oh, okay, got it. I know what my best friend needs. Me. It's easier.
Yeah.
For me.
And I love that you're bringing your compassion for others towards yourself and accessing that self-compassion that way. It's beautiful.
Well, I think for me, it's always been easier to be nicer to other people, or more compassionate or reasonable, or, even just nice to the outer world or people around me. I can find all sorts of reasons. Like, you tell me a problem and what you're thinking, and I can give you a completely different perspective. But it's harder for me to do it for me because I'm harder on me. But when I step into that role of a friend, like if this was my friend saying these same things to me, then what? And then I can see it. Oh, okay, Jody, you need to have compassion for yourself. You need to love yourself. Or like, this was a mistake. It's okay. This is being human. You're going to make mistakes. It's all right.
That's a cool tool. I like that one. How would my friend myself, if I'm my own friend, how do I respond to myself?
Yeah.
That's essentially what you're asking.
Absolutely. Because it's no longer, for me, it's not about me anymore. It's about my friend. And then when it comes out of my head or out of my mouth that I would say this to my friend, I can't not take that and apply it back because I don't want to be a hypocrite. Like, I can actually see it with a different kind of clarity now when it's outside of myself. And then I can turn it back and say, okay, this is what I need.
Do you feel it differently when you do that?
Totally.
Yeah.
Because I don't have an attachment to my friend. Like, let me give an example. If my friend came to me and is like, I'm a horrible person, I did X, Y, and Z, I can go to bat for them and tell them 100 reasons why they're not, and how this was an opportunity to learn, or it was a mistake, and like, you're going to learn something from it and continue on forward. It doesn't mean anything about you. And I can separate that conversation, and there's no attachment for me in saying these things to my friend. And then I can see it, and then I can see it for myself. I'm like, oh, okay. So I like to pretend I'm different people.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. It indirectly reminds me of something that I sometimes do. If I'm finding myself very stuck in my own head, because that's kind of what that is, being stuck in your own head. When I'm really in a very stuck place there, sometimes I will have just enough self-awareness to basically say to myself, yeah, but nobody else knows that you're doing this. Nobody else knows that you're thinking this. And somehow that takes the pressure off. I haven't quite figured out why.
Yeah.
But just by acknowledging that the only person who's aware of this in the entire universe is me. It's almost like I'm giving myself permission to just, ratchet it down a bit.
Yeah. Let it go.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah. I didn't even realize I did that until I just described it, but I do that fairly regularly. Yeah. So Ash, when you're working with, well, first of all, tell us, who do you tend to work with?
So I've worked with many, many people, heart-centered. That's crucial. People that want to live from their heart and do the work of the heart. And so when I say do the work of the heart, I work with lots of therapists and coaches and psychologists and thought leaders and academics who want the work of their heart out in the world. But then there's either the internal block around being seen or backing themselves or believing in themselves. And then the other aspect of my work, which has come from being on many podcasts and doing many, many social media posts and running a business, is being, okay, how do we create the ripples and help these people share their work with the world? Because there's the inner world and then there's the outer world. So let's take care of both of those.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's beautiful. And you talk about AI and the way that we use AI, I feel the same way about social media. We can consciously use social media. And I was scrolling through my social media last night, like just my TikTok feed. Like, wow, so many good people sharing good things in my feed. And I'm like, okay, I cultivated that. There's all these people out in the world that are helping other people with their videos and with their work. So that's become a bit of a passion, is because that's a form of connection that many people are doing, and it's a digital connection. And it's, for me, I prefer the face-to-face connection. However, we live in a world that is a certain way. And the saying, all suffering comes from rejection, or rejection is the source of all suffering. Right? I can reject social media and go, well, I'm just not going there, right? But it's actually part of my life, part of my business. So, okay, how do I embrace this and help people with it? How do we create a higher level of consciousness on the planet using AI, using social media, and make it a form of connection? Because what's going to happen is people are going to become very sick of, well, this is my perspective. I'm interested in yours, well, Jodie, but they're going to crave human connection. The digital connection isn't going to be as satisfying. So how do we amplify human connection using that as a resource? So that's where I come from, and that's the work. That's the ripples. Okay.
I love that.
I would answer what you're saying by pointing to the younger generation, what they're calling Generation Alpha. I'm hearing so many reports from people that Generation Alpha is basically stepping away from the online, not entirely, but to a large degree. And they're doing so because of that connection. They're discovering just how powerful that human connection is, and they're kind of, it's almost like it's a backlash against, not quite, but it's almost like an online backlash to what their parents, because their parents are basically the Gen Zs and the millennials, and that backlash is, well, that's what kids have done for generations. There's always the backlash against the parents. That's part of what their job is to backlash against the parents. But in this particular case, the backlash is, well, I'm going offline. You guys can do what you want online. I'm doing the offline because that's where the real connection is. So I think Generation Alpha is echoing what you're saying, Ash. I think that's something that they're embracing.
Yeah. And I think that there's like a turning point too, if I could add to yours, Walt. And it was actually a part of one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Ash. I think the turning point that I'm witnessing in my world and the people that I'm seeing is this uncovering of their heart and what really, like, being connected and living through a heart-centered space really means. And I know you had kind of mentioned it at the very beginning, you connect and honor your heart, and then the purpose comes. But not up until today, but for a long period of time, our society said, you go to school, you get a good job, you do this, you climb the corporate ladder, whatever, and then you will be happy. Or you have money and then you will be happy. All of these conditions of this is what you need to do to live your purpose, to have a successful life, all of those things. And that's where I'm seeing the turning point, is that traditional check the boxes, people are waking up to seeing, oh, that's not really what my heart is calling me to. And I think it's really beautiful that you had said that can change. And my question would be, how often are you seeing that, where clients come to you and they're like, I want to do this, and you can see it's coming from conditioning rather than a heart-centered space? And how do you break that news?
It's not my job to break the news.
Good call. Okay, yeah.
Not a news reporter, for sure. That. So it's like, okay, the heart has the answers already. It's just that the mind is skewing their perception, right? And how long does it take to change your perception of something? Half a second, right? The other day, I was like 4 weeks ago, I was walking down these stairs in this rainforest, and I slipped, and I did this highly advanced yoga move I'd never done in my life before, and I tore my quad muscle severely, and I thought I'd broken my femur. Right? Like that's how badly I did this. And I managed to get back up the top of the stairs and was sitting by the side of the road. My wife came and picked me up, and my perception changed in half a second. Right? It was like, oh, okay, value health. Why did that happen? Well, all those kind of things. Okay, there's something there where I need to take care of my health better, even though I already, I would say I'm already very highly pro health, but it was, okay. And so with clients, it's like, okay, it's just the perception. The heart already has the answers, right? The mind goes into problem solving, trying to fix everything to protect us. However, it gets in the way of the heart. So the job of the mind is to be the tool doing what the heart guides us to do. So my work is simply to connect them with their heart and be able to hear their heart, and the heart tells them. And the mind is judgmental, impatient, highly critical. The heart, it's patient, generous, loving, all-knowing. So when we come into the heart, Okay. Nervous system settles. And then those false beliefs that we have become more apparent. And we have the false beliefs because they're protecting us. However, that's not the job. Like when in our sort of primal form, we were in survival mode. Right. Now we have the opportunity to be in thrival mode. So that means this can back off. This can back off. All the resources are around us. And if we're coming from the heart, we're going to see those resources better.
I like that word. You mentioned thrival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thrival. Yeah. I like that a lot. That's really good.
Yeah. Contemplation and meditation. It's amazing what comes through.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Love that.
Something else that occurred to me too. You were making reference to the distinction between the heart and the mind, the critical mind and the all-loving heart. And it's something I noticed. I've noticed it on many occasions. I'm sure many of us have noticed it at various times. But particularly lately, I've noticed it. The ability of the mind to claim to be speaking for the heart. Jody Lynn, I know you encounter that too in your own life with your coaching clients, all that kind of thing. It's amazing how often, though, we'll do that. And we're convinced, we convince ourselves before we convince anybody else that that voice that we're speaking from is coming from the heart when it's actually coming from the head. And I realize I do the same thing too. It's one of those things that raises the question, like, how do you avoid that? Because if you're trying to live a heart-centered life, you could deceive yourself pretty easily.
Yeah. And that's part of the path. It's just part of the way is that you will be deceived. And something I observe is the more work people do, the cleverer the mind gets at manipulating and coming up with different strategies for protection. So it's okay. And of course, I love the Buddhist term, the second arrow, which is where we're judging ourselves. We have something happen in our life. So say, for example, let's say I'm judging myself because I messed something up. I sent out an email newsletter and there was a typo in it and I forgot to put a link in correctly. And my mind starts going on top of me. And then so that's the first arrow, the pain of having messed up. The second arrow, they call it the second arrow, is me judging myself for making the mistake. Right? And that's what makes the pain stick, is the second arrow.
That makes sense.
So it's okay. We work on the second arrow. The first arrow is gone. And then there's this ease. And so we start to see those little patterns of the mind and the familiarity and the self-compassion that leads us to being in the heart more and more and more.
So follow the second arrow.
Yeah. Because that's what's making it hurt, is that we've attached a story to us feeling a certain way. Otherwise, the emotions just come and go. Right? With deep presence, you probably experience this yourself. With deep presence, like, there's anger, gone.
So for somebody who says they're trying very hard to live in the heart, but they're finding themselves stuck in their head, what do you say to them?
Well, the heart's there. And what do you love doing? What brings you into your heart? That's one way. And the other is learning the practice of being in the heart. So, if it's playing keys, go play the keys. If it's singing, go sing. And Jodlyn, I would say, you said I was a singer. I would say you are a singer. But she's still there.
Yeah.
She's still a singer. I'm sure your husband agrees that you're a singer.
I'm sure it's true.
Yeah. So that's one of the doorways into the heart, is just doing things you love.
It's so funny how we complicate that, or how we put all of these conditions on everything of like, I can't do that because it's not going to pay me money, or it's not going to pay my bills, or it's not going to, build my business or whatever. It's so interesting how we get wrapped up in that conversation instead of just taking the time to do it.
Yeah. And then you become more vital and energized and more magnetic, so that the clients you want to attract, they come, because you're actually embodying living from life the way that your unique self wants to live from life.
I actually have a really cool story that
Yeah.
ties in perfectly to this. So I've spent the last probably 5-6 years really like connecting with my heart, maybe probably 8 years. What does my heart want? What do I really love to do? And then building my life around that. So I have a very different life. And one of the things that we do in my different life is we grow giant pumpkins. And so these things are like massive, and it's something we do all summer. And the way off was just this weekend. And I had, I had this idea a couple of weeks ago. Probably about 3 weeks ago. My husband and I were talking, and he was mentoring someone else, and they were beating us in the contest. He did such a good job, and he spent all this time and whatever. And it was just coming to this realization, like, hey, you got to stop mentoring people for free. Like, maybe this is something that we should do. And I got really excited about it, and thinking about how we could bring this to the community and kids, and like getting people outside and connected to nature. And I think for me, what I get out of it is the beauty of watching the magic that is possible in our world. You have a seed that fits in the palm of your hand, and by the time the season is over, you need a tractor to pick this thing up. Like, it's ginormous. So it's so magical what is possible. And I want to bring that to people. So I'm obviously really excited about that. And so I decide I'm going to put together this apprenticeship for whoever wants to be an apprentice and learn how to grow giant pumpkins. And like, I put all these ideas together and like reformulate it, and finally get to like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I ordered t-shirts like 2 weeks before the way off, and I'm like, I don't know if they're going to come. I don't know. And it's looking like they're not going to come. Like, they're supposed to ship on Monday, and it's Wednesday, and they haven't shipped, and they're coming from across the country. And I'm like, okay, plan B, how are we going to announce this? How are we going to do this? Okay, I'm going to do flyers, and I'm going to pepper the parking lot. And my husband's like, no, I don't want our name associated with a bunch of garbage that's flying around, like you're littering. And I'm like, okay, plan B. Like, what are we going to do now? Like, I really don't know how I'm going to make this work. Tell people about it. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe the food trucks at the fair will let me put up like my little poster, and like maybe the admission booth will let me put up my poster. And yeah, they did. And I was like, okay, well, like that's something, whatever. Right. Then like the 11th hour Friday night, the shirts come in, and I'm like, yes. But it's super cold. So they gave us as growers hoodies that say like pumpkin grower on them, and everybody's wearing those, including my husband. And I'm usually the cold one. I'm like, oh man, how am I going to wear my t-shirt? It's cold. What am I going to do? And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to wear my sweater for a bit. And I had my t-shirt underneath it. All good. I end up taking off my hoodie, and our pumpkin is like next up, or one of the 3 pumpkins that we had. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a picture. And, happenstance, I was talking to this other grower who was a lady earlier in the day, and, just telling her about our pumpkins and what we're excited about and whatever. And, never just being nice, being who I am. And so I go up to take a picture of the pumpkin on stage, of like, I'm just, paparazzi over here. Like, this is my little baby taking pictures or whatever. And I've got my t-shirt on that says, want to learn how to grow a giant pumpkin. And the other grower I was talking to, she says, you got to go up there for a picture. And I was like, no, it's fine. I don't need to go on stage. It's okay. No, you got to go. And then the MC, who is a radio announcer for one of our local radios here in Alberta, he's like, you got to come up and take a picture. My husband's nowhere to be found. Like, we grew this together, but I'm like, okay, I guess, whatever. I'll go up. So she makes me go up on stage and take a picture. I smile, whatever, right? And as I'm walking off, the radio announcer, who's our MC for that day, he's like, what's on the back of your shirt? And he reads it, and I was like, it's a giant pumpkin apprenticeship. We want to teach people how to grow. And he's like, want to plug it? In a room full of hundreds, maybe 1,000 people. I'm like, sure do. Yes, I do. So he gives me the mic, and I plug it, and I have all these people coming up to me looking for the flyers and asking to take a picture of my shirt that's got the information on it. And then it gets even better. We go up there to get our ribbon because we placed in the contest. And as we're getting our ribbon, I had the flyers in my hand, and the radio announcer, he's like, I'll take one of those and I'll plug it on the radio for you.
Oh,
right? I could not have planned it better myself. Like it was an idea that was born out of excitement from a place in my heart of giving this to the world and teaching people, and it just happened to work out perfectly. So
I'm going to just go out on a limb here and guess you weren't cold at all.
not anymore. Like not in that moment. I was like, woo! Am I sweating? Oh God. I was so excited. I had friends who were in the crowd that they were like, that was staged, right? Like you guys planned that? Not one bit. But you know me well enough, Walt, that I've always got something top of mind that I can spit out of my mouth that can be a little bit intelligent, at least somewhat intelligent.
Well, so very intelligent. Very
thank you. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, just in case the opportunity came up. But I never thought that would be a possibility. That was not something I, thought I could drum up. And
what you had was a hope, not a plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
which can actually, getting back to the whole ripple concept, that's actually more powerful to have a hope than a plan.
Yeah.
Higher vibration. Ripple vibration.
Exactly.
And your unique take on growing pumpkins, and I'm sure you grow pumpkins with love, right? You don't just grow a pumpkin. There's love that goes into the pumpkin.
That's true.
So,
my babies.
And you said you placed. How heavy was the winner?
The winner of the contest was 1365, I think, 1,365 pounds. And our biggest pumpkin was 838.5 this year.
All right. Not as good as past years, but still, that's a great result.
Yeah. It still looks huge. Like it's insane when pictures don't do it justice. You just have to stand beside it. And it looks huge. Crazy.
And are they edible when they're that big?
Some people do eat them. I wouldn't eat them only because we take soil health and biologicals and like different fertilizers, like the nutrients that go into it to make it bigger. We take it very seriously. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the water to help it grow. So I don't know that it's necessarily good for me. It's good for them, but not good for me. So I don't eat them. But the number one guy, he makes pumpkin pies out of his.
He does, really?
Yeah. For us, we donated ours to 2 different haunted houses. So they're going to be carved and put on display, which is really exciting. That's exactly what I wanted. And this year I had said I really wanted to collaborate with a carver to do something and like display it somewhere in the community and get their name out there, get our name out there, and wherever we display it so kids can come and see it and stuff, because it's just so cool. And I couldn't find somebody to work with on that front, but I hadn't given up. I just put it out there and was like, okay, I hope that somebody comes into, my inbox essentially. And that's exactly what happened. On Sunday, I got an email from a professional carver saying that she wants to collaborate with us and can we do workshops, and all of these ideas are flowing for the next year. So it's exciting.
Fantastic. That's a great story. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
And it fits in perfectly with the theme, because Ash brought in the theme of being in your heart. You stayed in your heart the entire story.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way, on that.
Thank you. It wasn't easy because I was like, I don't know. I mean, even like getting the apprenticeship stuff, like I tend to like go really big with my ideas. And then my husband's like, okay, you got to come down a little bit. Like that's like 70 million hours of work. And we're already doing a lot next year. So maybe we scale it back and just do something a little bit more manageable. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, that happens in our house too.
Yeah.
Except it's me. Come back. One, just focus on the one thing. Okay.
Yeah, just focus on the one thing, not the 1,000 things. Yeah. It's really easy for me to go big with something and get really excited. Yeah.
That's good though, because even when you're getting excited about a whole bunch of things, it's excitement. Excitement is the most important piece of it. So you may not end up doing all of them, but just getting excited by itself is going to pay dividends of some kind.
100%.
And yeah, it's a good idea to focus on one. That's always more powerful. But you don't lose anything with the other. That's the good part.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that we can't do them the following year or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
The idea is still there.
Well, Ash, look what kind of a conversation you inspired here. This is pretty cool
I
stuff.
know. I love it. I didn't even know there was a pumpkin scene.
Oh,
You think we knew?
oh, it's big. I don't know about in Australia, but I'm sure that there is giant pumpkin growers. Now it's going to be my mission to find out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very
Because there was a
good.
new record in England, well, world record broken this weekend by a couple of guys who I think they're in England. I'm not exactly sure, but somewhere around that general vicinity. Their pumpkin was like 2,800 something pounds, taking the world record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Big stuff.
yeah, it is. It's awesome.
Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Our hour is up, which always is a sad point, but the happy point is how we gotten here. Ash, there are three things we'd like to do at the end of every episode, and first and foremost, we want you to tell people how, if somebody wants to work with you, somebody wants to maybe share stories, they want to become more heart-centered, they want to go further down that path. How do they find you?
So social media, Ash Perot, TikTok's my main channel. I have almost 500 videos up on TikTok, and
wow,
really great community there. There's a lot of conscious people sharing content on TikTok. Most people think it's a dance, the Chinese dance platform, right? But it's the reality is very different there. So social media, Ash Perot, ashperot.com. If you're a heart-centered professional and you want to work on your visibility, there's a free quiz that you can do to sort of identify where your visibility is at the moment. So with the idea being, are you a candle? Are you a lantern, a bonfire, or a lighthouse? Like how much of your light is going out into the world? And from that quiz, you can identify, okay, well, these are my next steps. I also have a free messaging masterclass that people can come and do, and I teach them some concepts around messaging. Okay. And I also have a workshop where people can come and learn how to use AI to create conscious content and share their message with their audience so it connects with their audience. So, for example, if you want to connect with pumpkin growers, it's like, okay, what are the language of pumpkin growers? How do you connect in with pumpkin growers? And so teaching people how to do a deep dive on that and really, because connection, it's about connection and trust and authenticity, not about role playing and being something else other than you are and coming from the heart. So that's that. And also the one-to-one work, if people want to connect with their heart, they can see at ashperot.com there's opportunities to contact me through there.
So that's really the first stop is ashperot.com.
Yeah. Thanks, Walt. Yeah.
Okay, good. Second thing we like to do is I like to go to Jody Lynn to kind of tie everything together because she's so good at it. As you can tell, I mean, she's a fabulous storyteller like yourself, but she also knows how the stories come together. So Jody Lynn, how you been thinking about it?
Oh, I think today is such an important and pivotal conversation, not only now, but just in general. People need to hear this conversation about coming from your heart. And I love how we went from talking about being heart-centered to how it ripples out and what it actually looks like in your everyday life. Because I think in our society, and I've talked about this already, I think we're taught a lot of conditioning on the way things should look, the way that they should feel, or the way that we should act. And Ash, the work that you're doing is so incredibly important because, as you said it, it's so simple. When you connect with the heart, when you are driven by that heart space, everything else falls into place. And it really is that simple, but yet it is so incredibly profound. And the ripple from that message is so divine. So thank you for that today.
Thank you, Jody Lynn. And
thank
you, Walt. And Jody Lynn, thank you for inspiring me to go to a pumpkin festival. I can't wait.
Yes. Yeah. You're welcome.
There you go. There's another victory for today. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Final thing I like to do with every episode ties in perfectly with the experience you had in your near-death experience, where you experienced yourself as ripples. Because what I like to talk about is the ripple effect. And it's the ripple effect that's tied to the 21st century. I mean, you're in Australia, she's in Canada, I'm in the US, and we're having this conversation like we're sitting in the same living room. That was not possible 30 years ago, but it's possible now. You're on TikTok. There are the social media channels that people regularly frequent. That wasn't existing 30 years ago. It now exists. And as a result, there are many, many people now who are sharing from their heart. They're sharing what they've learned, what they found to be valuable with others, and they're passing messages along to people that they don't even know. And it's a wonderful thing that that's happening. The thing that seems to be missing from my perspective is getting credit for that. So Ash, on behalf of those people you've never met, never seen, never will meet, never will see, who you've been helping in ways you didn't even know about just by doing your TikToks, by coming onto this podcast, other podcasts, on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference in this world.
Yeah.
Thank you, Walt. And that really landed in my heart. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I hit the target. I love it.
You did. You nailed it. You made me teary. Look, my eyes are going all teary. So thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
100%. I love it.
So something I show in my workshop is what it's like to talk to a room of 10 people, and then what it's like to talk to a room of 500 and 2,000. And then my first sort of video about my near-death experience, there was 70,000 people, right? Like a stadium of people. And last year on TikTok, I had 2 million people, which was 29 football stadiums of people benefit from the content. Right? So it's like, so what you said then, and most of those people I never, ever, ever, ever hear from.
Nope.
Right? So thank you, Walt. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your story. And we wish you all the best going forward, because I'm sure you're going to touch many more millions after that.
Oh, thank you. And what a beautiful podcast you have. I really love it. Really love it. And yeah, thanks. What an honor to be your guest. So thank you.
We love it. I'm going to be doing it for years. I think Jody Lynn's going to be here for a long time too. Yeah, we love it. This isn't going to stop anytime soon. Yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.